Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of UIC Jamaica Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson. Uh, as you know, this evening, or rather earlier this morning, we had the court case. So I'm here to give an update to all of you. So, good night, everyone, and thank you for being here. Kurt Miller, Diane, good night. Yeah, and Althea, good night. Thank you for joining. You can all hear me clearly. If you can hear me clearly, say yes, please. Tie here. I should take this off now. I'm kind of like, yeah, it's been a very long day. Um, Good night, Yannick. Good night, Judith. Good night, Maisie. Thank you all very much for being here tonight. We had a very interesting day today at the courthouse. So I'm sure you'd all like to hear how that went. And I'm trying to fix my tie, but my gosh, it's it's hard to see in the camera here. But I think that's good. It's twisted. Okay, let's try it this way. Yeah. There we go. That's better. Yep. Good night, Carl Gray. Good night, Jamaican Carlos. Welcome. Greetings, Yolanda. Greetings, Dolores. Uh, yeah. Mr. Pepper. Good evening. Good evening, Harriet. Thank you also. Hear me clearly. Raymond Grant. Good to see you. Jarvis. Good to see you. Good. Ming Hutchinson. David Irvin. Uh, Cheyenne McFarlane. Leanne Thompson. Greetings to you all. Welcome and thank you so very much. Today we had a very eventful day at the courthouse. My wife and I, we got there approximately 9 a.m. in the morning ahead of schedule to make sure everything was okay. We were greeted by a number of supporters outside the courthouse, and then we made our way inside, after which we were uh, ordered to go outside in a lineup, and they gave us instructions and called our names, and then we went to court. We were very pleased to be represented by a very able uh, lawyer, Mr. Yu Wildman, uh, and he represented us very well today in court. Uh, our case was called up, and the charges were laid out to the four of us that were accused. Um, as you know, the charges were that we breached the Public Order Act and that we also breached the Disaster Risk Management Act and that we resisted arrest. Our lawyer was very skillful and eloquent in explaining to the court that Prime Minister made a significant, if it is a mistake, in trying to use the Disaster Risk Management Act in order to violate rights and freedoms of Jamaicans to respond to the pandemic. The lawyer made it very clear that the most appropriate approach would have been to declare a state of emergency and to pursue the channels that is allowed under the current constitution to deal with matters like these. But obviously, the Prime Minister uh, would have preferred the powers, the exceptional powers that he granted to himself under the DRMA, and as such, we will prove in court that he was actually um, not appropriate. He was not doing what was the The situation now, therefore, is that this will move to the Constitutional Court. And so a date has been set for December 14th for us to come back to court to begin those proceedings. We look forward to continuing this because we know that we are right and that the Prime Minister is wrong, and that he has wronged Jamaicans across the country, and that he has overstepped his boundaries as Prime Minister, and clearly received poor legal advice or was stubborn in not properly following the existing constitution that we have. As you know, I'm not a fan of the constitution. It's not the best constitution we could have. It doesn't fully and properly protect us as Jamaicans. But fortunately, there are some levels of protections, and we have a prime minister who is not particularly keen on following even the basic checks and balances that we do have. You might recall that he has always been found to try to skirt the laws that exist, and not being brave enough or man enough to address that in a democratic manner by putting before the people of Jamaica the kind of changes you'd like to see to the Constitution, and then pursuing those through the avenues allowed to us all in pursuing constitutional changes. So, since he has chosen once again to try to violate our rights, he will once again find himself having to defend a very bad decision, and may very well lose another court battle. He lost on the NIDS. He lost in his attempt to manipulate the Chief Justice, and he lost in to manipulate senators, and once again to lose in his attempt to undermine the rights of Jamaicans by way of this so-called disaster management act. So we're really looking forward to this case being swift brought before the constitutional courts, and for the prime minister and his government to be guilty of breaching our constitutional rights. So, having said that, I'm very pleased to be here with you tonight, and look forward to answering any questions you might have on this case, or any questions you might have for the in general. You know, it's a real privilege to be the president of the UIC, because it is the only maker today which has decided to stand firmly on the side of the citizens of Jamaica, as opposed to taking sides with those who would like to see our rights and freedoms be taken away, on the premise that it is for the so-called greater good. I must tell you, there's no greater good than protecting the individual rights of every citizen. That is the greater good. The greater good is for us to protect the interests of every single Jamaican, and that includes protecting us from the government as well. A proper constitution, which is what is when the UIC's elected government, is one that protects us also from the government. And we're seeing that in the current constitution, it doesn't fully protect us. And we need to make sure we have a proper constitution that's written Jamaicans, for Jamaicans, in the best interest of every single Jamaican. Question here from Corey: what is your view on the Bank of Jamaica increasing the signal rate from 0.5 to 1.5%? Here we have a so-called central bank that is setting interest rates. No one has the right to unilaterally set interest rates for anyone else. Interest rates should be determined between the buyer and the seller of a commodity, be it a currency or physical asset, a loan agreement, or so on. So the UIC does not believe in having a central bank that sets interest rates for anyone. You should be able to negotiate your interest rates, which we should not have a central bank that actually seeks to control and manipulate your currency. The purpose of a government is to protect the purchasing power of citizens by ensuring that there is a free and fair market that allows for free exchange of goods and services in a mutually beneficial way between consenting adults. The system we have today that we call a central banking system is actually fraudulent and continues to undermine the economy of Jamaicans and citizens around the world, and we need to understand that central banking is wrong and that we need to replace central banking with what I like to call free banking. And free banking is where you have a banking system that does not allow for cartels and manipulation, be it by the government working in collusion with big banks or by big banks working in collusion among themselves. We need to eliminate this kind of practice, and by that, we will improve the economy, reduce interest rates, actually, and reduce the cost of doing business and improve the quality of the economy and the opportunities for more and more Jamaicans to achieve upward mobility. So, thank you for that question. Much appreciated. What are your plans to make the UIC and your plans for the country to be known to the wider public? Because many still do not know about this third party. Well, Timon, thank you for that question. Many Jamaicans now know about the UIC. I can tell you this, that at least 1 million of us do. And the question is, what will each of us do now to continue to spread the word? So, uh, Timon, I want to encourage you to spread the word to your fellow Jamaicans. You are the key. Remember, the UIC is not funded by big business. We're not owned by big business. We're not funded by foreign interests. We're not owned by foreign interests. We are owned by you, the people. The UIC belongs to every single Jamaican. Everyone who loves freedom loves the UIC, because the UIC is about protecting your individual right to your life, your liberty, and your property. And in particularly right now, we're the only ones, as an organized political movement in Jamaica, that is protecting your bodily autonomy. So that's very important. So you spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your family. In fact, right now there are Jamaicans in every parish across Jamaica going about organizing small UIC groups in their community, and you can too. Every one of you can organize a UIC group in your community. A group of 12 persons coming together, form a UIC group, and then write into us and let us know you'd like to register your group. And then you begin the wonderful task of recruiting other members. And we ask each of you to find 10 other members, which will bring your group to not just 12, but 132. And together, you will help to transform Jamaica, because that's what we're about. We're about unifying Jamaica and liberating Jamaica so that we can empower all Jamaicans. Huh? What do we have here? Ken Francis says, I am serious about real change. So am I, Ken. Thank you so much for that. How about you going to remove the weapons from the streets? So Insta, he's saying, how about removing the weapons from the streets? That's a very good question, Insta, and or comment. What is really sad is that we have two major parties that have been in power now for 77 years, and they have not figured out how to protect our borders. And so constantly there's an influx of guns. You can't have as many gun violence and crimes being done by criminals with illegal guns and ammunition if the government were able to simply do their job. And I am at a loss as to why is it taking so long, 77 years to be exact. Why is it taken these two political parties that have been in charge of our governments for 77 years? Why is it they have not been able to figure out how to prevent illegal guns and ammunition from coming into this country? And I'll tell you why. It's because they're a part of the problem. And until we have a new government that is not a part of the criminal problem, that has not been a part of supporting criminal enterprise, supporting gangs, and providing, incentives for criminal organizations to succeed in Jamaica, we'll never be able to stop it. So the UIC is committed to really introducing proper border controls to stop the inflow. If the supply can't make it in, you will stifle it. We also have to cut off the source of human capital to gangs, and that is to make sure that we have an economy that can fully absorb all of our graduates from high school and university. And that means we have to really cut out the corruption and actually start having a true free market economy that stimulates entrepreneurship, that supports entrepreneurship, that allows for more and more productivity to take place so that jobs can be created and our people can find more gainful employment and our young people will have no need to join gangs. Question or comment. Good evening. First time live. Please send the email address where we can request registration for the group of the people for UIC. Excellent Monday melodies. The email address is info@uicjamaica.com. That's info at uicjamaica.com. So you can email there. Perfect. Thank you. And somebody else says here, good evening. Good evening, Sophia. Sophia Mori. Good to see you, man. It's been, you're always on. Really appreciate that. Huh? Excellent. Yes. Unite us uniting for change, says FAIM. Wonderful. What else do we have here? Yeah, so please send in your questions. Any questions you have tonight? I'm going to spend 1 hour with you. So if you have any questions about the legal case, please let me know. Insta Spy says more houses for the poor. I'm glad you brought that up, Insta, because we're not just going to have more houses for the poor. The UIC has a tax plan which is committed to eliminating poverty in Jamaica and ensuring that we address some key issues. One of them, and a very critical one, is to make sure that we set aside the GCT to fund nutrition, education, and healthcare for every child that needs the support. But we also want to support the family. So every family that does not yet own a decent home, we want to make sure that they have a decent home and have a mortgage that they can afford that pays for this in a quality condo housing structure we're going to put in. And this structure is going to be so designed that the homes do not take up our key and prime agricultural lands, which we want to dedicate to organic food production. But at the same time, we also want to get rid of the garrisons, get rid of the squatter communities, get rid of the garrisons. So you're looking at a complete redevelopment of Jamaica, a magnificent design that is going to um, really see us respecting our people and respecting ourselves and respecting our environment, right? And building quality condominiums, decent 2 and 3 and 4 bedroom condos to move Jamaicans up in life, making all Jamaican families property owners and getting rid of the shanty towns, the ghettos, the garrisons, and backing this up with an economic model that actually works. And this includes going back to agriculture in a real way, moving away from the GMO seeds, moving away from the artificial fertilizers to organic fertilizer, to permaculture, to organic farming. That's going to make us not only healthier, but food secure, water secure, and energy secure, and providing job security for the vast majority of our population. Question: does the UIC have any plans to open trade schools for anyone who cannot afford to attend university? And that question is from Debbie Jarvis. Well, right now, Jamaica already has, a lot of options. We have the Heart Trust or the Heart Academy set up already. We already have technical programs in our schools. The problem is that the the funding and the way these are organized are not optimal. So we're going to make this more optimal in the model of schooling that we're going to put in place. which will become more Afrocentric, more competency driven instead of passing exams, and really giving our students the kind of support that they need to do well early. One of the problems we have in Jamaica is that apart from being route design in terms of learning, it's more route learning. So you're not really learning how to be competent or to be creative or to be impactful at an early age. We're going to change the approach to that to become more competency focused, and to also ensure that our students are learning early. We seem to be doing such a poor job that by the time these children spend 15, 14, 15, 16 years in school, they're still coming out incompetent. And that's just not acceptable. So we have to make sure that very early, from grade 1, 2, 3, and pre-primary school, that they're getting the kind of nutrition, that the proper mental development is taking place. We have to make sure that the kind of teachers that they have are truly well trained and experienced and qualified to teach at the different subject level and grade levels, and have that early in the process and carry that throughout. So we're talking about now raising the profile of teaching again, making sure that our teachers are really the best, that we retain quality teachers and that we pay them very well, because teachers have a major impact on the society that we have going forward. So if we don't treat teachers well, making sure that they are comfortable, that they have, a good income, good housing, uh, you know, good education themselves, and really strong. If we don't do that, then our teachers are not going to be able to impart to our students the kind of understanding and knowledge and competencies they need to succeed in life. So we're going to start at from the beginning and make sure the early stages right through to the end of second school that they're being trained properly. It's important that we integrate in this early stage practical skills. So I love what happens. I went to a technical school, so when I finished St. Andrew Technical High School, I could draw. So I did technical drawing. I could draw properly, right? So I understand measurements and so on. I could use a lathe. I did electrical and electronics, so I could, fix an equipment. You know, um, I did also accounting, so I could, properly balance, a balance sheet, and read an income statement and prepare a cash flow statement. So technical skills like these, we need to make sure that we're learning those very early in the process. Yeah. So yes, another question. Somebody here says, are you going to make Marcus Garvey teach in school? That's Mr. Pepper. Well, Mr. Pepper, you ask a great question. I believe it's very important that we return to our roots as a people. We need to correct years and years of misinformation and miseducation and you know so I want us to have a school system where um, our Afrocentricity is brought back to the fore, that we know who we are, we understand the role that the African people have played in the development of of humanity. And so, yes, I want to bring back, if you will, the Afrocentricity to our school system. It wasn't there before, since we have been enslaved and colonized. So we need to bring it forward. We need to get it back on the table and make sure our children understand the true history of the world, the true history of our people, and more importantly, that they learn this in a way that will help them to never again become the slaves of anyone. So we prevent what is even happening now, where our own kind are seeking to enslave us to further the interest of their foreign masters. Another question here from Rural Carnish. The fishing industry need sustained support. What's the UIC plans for the fisher folks? The UIC plans for the fishing folks is the same for every industry across Jamaica. We will create an environment that allows every single legitimate industry that is fair and honest to thrive. We're going to create an environment that allows anyone who wants to be productive, who wants to be innovative, that wants to be creative, to be able to do so. And the way we do that is by removing the kind of regulations that makes government and politicians a gatekeeper, that allows some people access and deny other people's access, that plays favoritism or manipulates the market. So we want to create an environment which is free and fair and open to all Jamaicans. And we're going to create such a market, create such an environment so that no Jamaican is going to be disadvantaged by the government ever again. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Let's see what else we have here. Question: how about providing offshore banking in Jamaica? That's Paul Chin. Beautiful suggestion, Paul, and I look forward to that. I think Jamaica can become a great financial services sector. We have the competencies here, we have the ability, we have the that we can put the infrastructure in that allows Jamaica to become a major financial center globally, especially a truly free banking sector where we create an environment where those who do not want to be controlled and manipulated by the current central banking system can have a system that is more confidential and secure and more open and low cost. So yes, I'd be very happy to see that in Jamaica. Uh, Timon Appleton says, "What are your plans for our overpriced electricity bills?" Very good question. The current system is one that has created an electrical supply monopoly. So we're going to break up that monopoly by putting in place a public electricity infrastructure that allows for private competition. So, in other words, we're going to create an electrical, what do you call it now, highway, an electrical highway that allows any number of suppliers of electricity to hop onto that highway and provide electricity at the lowest possible cost and allow you, the customer, to pick and choose who your electrical supplier is based on the cost of energy. So, to break that down for you, you're going to see where a number of electrical producers across the island will be able to produce and plug in and not to be artificially kicked out of the market by one monopoly supplier. Question from Debbie Jarvis: Mr. President, what will be the UIC strategies for creating jobs with a living wage for everyone? Very good question, Debbie. The UIC strategy for creating an environment for jobs and entrepreneurship is one second here, just a second. One second. Yes, sir. Hello. Yes, I'm hearing you now. Uh huh. Oh no, I didn't hear the interview yet. It just happened. Yes. It's okay. How was it? How was it? Good. All right. Eh, No, man, I didn't get a chance to, but I will check it out. It's going to be on the recording. All right. Take care. Good. Good. All the best. Yes. Sorry about that. Oops. That was the lawyer calling just to check up to see if there was just an interview a while ago, and he wanted to know if I had a chance to see it because we're talking to the media now about our approach and how we're going to address these issues. But back to the question of strategy for creating jobs. Debbie, first of all, the most important element of job creation is to recognize the powerful role that government can play and does play in either creating the possibility for jobs or impeding the possibility for jobs. In the current environment in Jamaica, the government has been an impediment. So over the years, it's getting harder and harder and harder for entrepreneurs to create jobs. Getting very hard for that to happen because the government continues to crowd out the private sector, particularly the small and medium size segment of the sector, by giving more and more power to the larger companies via regulations. So the regulations are designed to make it difficult for small businesses to compete. So we're going to change that. We're going to make sure that we have an environment that allows small and medium enterprises to compete effectively, and by doing so, we will create more jobs and more opportunities and actually increase the velocity of money, increase the productivity, and therefore create more and more job opportunities and high paying jobs. You're always going to have a range of jobs, right? Different prices. And what you want is to make sure that nobody is stuck. And how do you stop that stucking or that sticking from happening is by ensuring that there are many opportunities. So you can start off, let's say, in a low paying job. If you're an unskilled teen, you start off in a low paying job, but you don't stay there. You have opportunities to build new skills, go to school part time, become more experienced and move up the ladder. And of course, your wages should change as well. Owen asks, how confident are you about your case going forward given the outcome in court today? Very good. Owen, I'm very confident on a scale of 1 to 10. I would say 9. We're very confident that we have a very strong case against the government, and I expect us to win it. Yeah. All right. Next question. Edley Phillips says, good night, Mr. President. What kind of infrastructure would you put in place for students leaving colleges across the island so they won't be sitting home doing nothing for themselves? Great, Edley Phillips. Um, we have a program that we call the Youth Employment Program, YEP. What this program does, it guarantees every young person who wants it a job immediately when they leave school, college, or university. It is a bit of an apprenticeship program that allows them to acquire the skills and competencies they need based on where the market is at any given point in time. And so they're not going to be left out in the cold. So what we want to do is to make sure that when a young person finishes school, they have somewhere to go immediately. And when they go into that system, they're going there on the premise that they're going to be paid to add value to that organization and in the process to acquire much needed skills to help them move up the ladder. Please bear in mind, though, that a key part of any arrangement is that the individual themselves must want to go upwards and onwards. So they have to apply themselves accordingly. How would you stimulate the economy in a time of global uncertainty and regression? That is Corey Stewart asking. How would you stimulate the economy in a time of global uncertainty and regression? In a time of global uncertainty, the best way to stimulate any economy is by ensuring that the government is not an impediment to innovators. We have to understand that the real drivers of any economy are the innovators and the producers. And you can have two situations, one where you have 63 men and women in parliament thinking that they are brighter than 2 to 3 million people, or you have the 2 to 3 million people having the environment, a safe environment, a clean environment, an orderly environment, an environment that protects property rights, an environment that empowers every individual to learn and to earn and to grow. If you have that environment, your innovators can lead you out of any uncertainty and out of any regression. And that is key. Uh, Gastorok is asking, will the UIC decentralize the police force? No, we will not decentralize the police force. We're going to replace the police force. We're going to replace the police force with the police service, where the teachings, the learnings, the training will revamp the way the police thinks and operate to become a service, a customer service element, right? And that's key. So, in other words, you're not going to have anymore the police being an element of fear for citizens. It's going to become a more community oriented police service that must show the highest regard and respect for every citizen, regardless of where they live, regardless of how they look, regardless of um, what they may be accused of. So the police is going to become a true customer service oriented body that works from intelligence, that works from a point of respect for citizen, and that is skilled and trained to deal with people at different levels, and that has the equipment they need to do their job very well. And most importantly, that they're paid well to do the job. And Alyssa is asking, how difficult will it be for us to get away from the stronghold of other countries? Brilliant question, Annalisa Gillespie. It is it is not going to be easy, but it's necessary. So the question is, we can't continue on the trajectory we're on. We can't continue to make decisions that cripple our country and be party to arrangements that cripple our people. And so it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be necessary, and we're going to do it. A key part of the negotiation that has to happen is that we need a leader that puts Jamaica first, a leader that puts the people of Jamaica first, a leader that understands global trade and economics, a leader that understands international relations, a leader that is more than just politics, but is actually keen on building a quality country. Every time I drive around Jamaica, I see a country that's not cared for. I see a country that their leaders do not have any respect for. They leave the people to live in squalor, to live in dirty, poorly kept arrangements, while they live in beautiful and well adorned homes in the hills. You know, they have nice driveways, manicured lawns, beautiful walls, nice lighting, beautiful homes. But for some strange reason, they do not see Jamaica as their home. They don't see all of Jamaica as their home. Well, I want us to see all of Jamaica as our home. I want when you step out of your gates, you are proud to walk on the roads and streets of Jamaica. You're proud to be a part of the environment that Jamaica has to offer. And so we're going to change that, eh? Stacy Campbell writes, "Good night, sir. I have a question. If you were in power and you were faced with the COVID situation, with the world government and the so-called stakeholders pressuring you to do these wicked, inhumane things to your people that the present government..." I think there's a second part to that question. There must be a second to that question.
Yeah, there is a second part. She's asking you
Yes.
what would you do differently?
So if I were the prime minister in January, February of 2020, the first thing I would do when we're faced with the pandemic is to make sure that I treat it as a situation like we're facing a war. When you're facing a war, what you want to do is to make sure that you put aside everything that might appear to be political or partisan. And so I would have convened a public emergency council with representation from all of the political parties that are registered. I would then, through this joint task force, commission the best and brightest minds in science, technology, law, and international relations, and then go about setting up an objective, transparent, and inclusive process that ensures that whatever we do will win the sympathy and support and trust of the Jamaican people. I would set as a foundation that there should be no course should be taken that would undermine the individual sovereignty of any citizen of Jamaica. In the same way that we want every country to respect the collective sovereignty of all Jamaicans. As a result of that, we would have seen to the fact that all medical practitioners in Jamaica would have available to them every single option on the table to protect the lives of Jamaicans. So you're talking about having access to all the medications on the international market as well as local, removing all duties on importation on the things to save lives, removing all, not having any limitations unapproved medications. So the doctors could have easily prescribed ivermectin, for example. They could easily impose early treatment. So between February of 2020 and the time when a so-called solution was found by Big Pharma, we would have already been addressing the issue to prevent anybody from suffering needlessly or dying needlessly while we're waiting for one set of solutions to surface. So you'd have a very, very different Jamaica today. You would not have any lockdowns, for sure. Nobody would be forced to wear masks or to social distance or anything like that. Instead, we would have educated Jamaicans on what we know at any given time and advise Jamaicans on how they can protect themselves and their families and build that trust with the people that they will choose to follow what they think is best for themselves. And because of our transparency and our continuous updates, they themselves would feel empowered, they'll feel like they're in the know, and they'll be able to trust the government along the way. And that way we could save many lives and at the same time save our economy and the livelihoods of all Jamaicans. Next question from Gavin Forrest. Would you default on Jamaica's debt? No, I would never default on Jamaica's debt. What we will do is to make sure that we negotiate and renegotiate in ways that are favorable and sustainable for Jamaica as we move to becoming a debt free nation and a more productive nation. Annalisa is asking, what are your plans for street vendors? Very good question, Annalisa. We're going to ensure that Jamaica becomes a safe, clean, and orderly country. So we're going to have street vendors and all entrepreneurs being treated fairly and responsibly. We're going to have a Jamaica that is neat and clean, and so street vendors are now going to have a neat and clean environment which is organized in which to operate. They're going to be treated with respect, they're going to be treated as citizens, and they're going to be given an opportunity to have a very pleasant looking arrangement that appeals to both locals and foreigners alike. So Jamaica is going to be very different and very new. Yannick is asking, what are your plans for public sector workers where salary and benefits are concerned? Most of us are very qualified, have the experience, really do love our jobs, and put in the work. We plan to have a very, very well paid, well educated, very efficient, and very effective public service. We believe it's important that we keep the best people in the best position, doing the best jobs possible, and being paid at a salary that is commensurate with the quality and quantity of their work. So we believe the public sector and the private sector should be on par in terms of equal pay for equal work. So whatever quality work that is being done in the private sector and the public sector, they should be at competitive wage rates that reflects the productivity and effectiveness of those persons in those positions. I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach. I believe people must be paid for performance, and good performance should be paid well, and poor performers should suffer the consequences and find appropriate positions where their productivity level matches. Please recap what happened in court today, says Marvia. Court today went very well. We were on time. The court started on time. The myself and the other three co-accused appeared before The judges or accusers were there. We had a very, very able and eloquent lawyer in the person of Mr. U. Wildman, um, and he effectively uh, informed the court that we are going to challenge the constitutionality of the DRMA and the what's it called again? The the um, the other act, yeah, the Public Order Act. So we challenged those two. The court has set a new date for December 14th, when we shall again appear in court, now having received the details of the prosecution. We will then prepare our arguments and present those, and then the case will take its way through to the Constitutional Court, at which point we expect to win and prove that the constitutionality of the government's actions are severely wanting. Noki King is asking, good night, sir. Will we go back and charge all those politicians who misuse public funds? That certainly is our intention, to the best of our ability, systems and documentation and evidence. We do plan to have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. A key objective of that, though, is to make sure that we have um, a really good clarity on the history of Jamaica, so that we can learn from the past and not repeat them. So we want to document properly what has happened, and charge who we can charge for misappropriation of funds, theft, murder, all kind of other stuff generally. Next question from Asha Lawrence. How do you prevent PNP and GLP not steal the election? I can't prevent them, but we can. uh, we the people must become villain, and so we're going to be very organized. We're going to have indoor outdoor agents. We're going to have um, uh, persons who are trained and prepared to detect and um, identify any form of electoral fraud. We're going to work with the authorities, the ECJ, the EOJ, the political ombudsman, but most importantly, you, the people, will have to be vigilant. We, the people, will have to be vigilant and pay attention and call them out if they do anything, untoward. InfoHub is asking, good night, Mr. President. How will you deal with the act of lawlessness right across the board in the country? Well, first of all, the reason we have such lawlessness across the country is because the government itself is a corrupt government, and when you have widespread corruption in government, it just filters out to the entire nation. So our first step is to deal with corruption at the top. The moment we really show that we're serious about corruption, and change the system of design and ensure effective checks and balances, is the moment we will have begun to seriously address the corruption problem in the country. Uh, Question: can you explain how you would move Jamaica out of colonization rulership and become a sovereign state? We will do that by changing the constitution. So the UIC is going to not change, replace the constitution. We're going to bring in a completely new constitution, a constitution that will fully protect the rights of Jamaicans, a constitution that will get rid of the monarchy, and that will eliminate the basic features of colonization that continues to be a part of the way we operate. So you're talking about from the judiciary to the legislative branch, the executive branch. We have, if you go on our website, uicjamaica.com, you'll see a new outline as to how we're going to change from the old system to a new one. Michael is asking, crime, especially murders, are of the most urgent importance. Do you have a crime plan, and how would you implement it? Thank you, Michael. We have an anti-crime plan, and that anti-crime plan includes a number of things. So, first of all, crime in Jamaica is driven primarily from the uh, socio-political, economic design of the country. And so we're going to address the social, the economic, and the political aspect of the drivers of crime. As you know, the existing two political parties are a key part of that crime problem. They have encouraged, supported, and funded criminal activities at various levels in garrison community, in electioneering, and so on. We have a very poor education product that has messed up our young people in many ways. So we have some social issues there. We have homes that are in disarray, single parent homes, that again has an impact on crime. So there's no, the crime plan for Jamaica, or the anti-crime plan, has to be one that includes fixing the economy, fixing the home environment, as well as fixing the political design. And so we have addressed all of that in our solution. Uh, this question says, I have personally noticed that whenever mass deportees are sent back to Jamaica, the crime rate increases shortly after. Do you have any thoughts, plans on how to fix or alleviate this issue? I don't know the true correlation between that, but I can see that when a deportee comes home, they might be immediately displaced, and not having strong ties, and not having much opportunities, they would automatically fall into the hands of existing criminals and might themselves be very cunning, criminals from another country. So it's very important that we have the work fair program that the UIC will put in place, and under the work fair program, we are actually going to make sure that every adult who wants a job will have one and be able to learn new skills or improve existing skills, and to be gradually brought more and more into the work-life balance of a new Jamaica. How will the UIC combat corruption and bribery in many of the government agencies, such as the driver's license office? One basic example of that is by automating a number of features, so that instead of having a lot of human intervention, you have electronic intervention. And a lot of what is done, it's a matter of system design. So as an accountant, I've had to do a lot of internal systems, and so we'll create internal system designs that mitigates many of those corruption or risk elements that you see in the system. All right. Ooh. So local government elections ahead. Would it be profitable and important to the UIC at this point if the people voted for you? Um, Sorry about that. Well, I wouldn't say, okay, for local government election, it will be most beneficial to the people of Jamaica if they elect the UIC as the local government representatives. Reason being, we would at once begin to bring good governance, proper checks and balances, and an anti corruption approach to local government. Of course, uh, the sooner we also have control of the um, uh, national government and link that together with our counterparts in local government, we'll be able to make an even bigger indentation. But to begin with, local government would definitely give us a strong position to begin to implement changes at the local level that will benefit each and every citizen in the respective parishes and divisions across the country. A lot of government entities are utilizing rented space. How would you ensure these monies are saved and are utilized? It's such a shame that we're utilizing rented space when we have so many government buildings that are sitting there and are not being properly occupied and used. So we'll shift that. One of our goal is to actually shrink the government, and so we're going to take up less space, you know, and pay less rent, and leave more of that money in the pocket of Jamaicans so that they can spend it and invest it in ways that they think best. We need to create a where more money is kept in the hands of the citizens and less in the hands of government. I believe we get a lot more value for money if we give Jamaicans more of their own money to spend and stop having that money be sucked out of them and sucked into government and be lost by waste, mismanagement, corruption, and outright theft. So we're now 3 minutes away from the end of my time with you tonight. Um, there's so many questions we can ask and answer, so we're going to leave some for another day. I just want to thank all of you for having me again tonight. It's been a long day at court. Then I had a chance to connect with a few of our supporters who came out to support us at court today. I want to thank all of you who came out, who had people traveling from Negril, from Clarendon, from St. Anne, uh, all over the corporate area. I want to thank each and every one of you who came out. And please remember, we need your financial support. See us like your lawyer. We're defending you. We're standing up for you. And without your financial support, we're very weak. People are asking me right now, Mr. Patterson, we needed to come into our community. We needed to come here and do this and do that. And we want to. We definitely want to be all over the country, working with you, helping you to solve the problems that you're being faced with. We want to be able to effectively defend you. And the only way to do that is if you fund us. It's very simple. The other two parties, they're heavily funded by the private sector, the big businesses, and they're also funded by right now your tax dollars. They have access to your tax dollars, and so they're able to spend it to travel all around the country to try to convince you to take a product you may not want to take. We, the UIC, is 100% depending on you. I was talking with someone today, and he said to me, so how's it going? What are you going to do next? And so on. And we're just talking. And then I said to him, well, tomorrow I'm going to work. And he says, what do you mean? You work? I said, yes. So he thought that I did this full time. No, I do this not even part time. I do this voluntarily. I'm not paid at all. So everything I'm doing is completely voluntary. So every time I'm out, like at court today, I'm not earning. So when I go to court, I'm losing money because I'm not earning. And I am completely doing this for my country, for you, for your children, for my children, for our grandchildren. We're working for you. And so I'm asking you to really work with us and help us to help you. We cannot do this without your help. The other part is they know that it's very difficult for any third party to exist, and they're very happy that no third party has ever come as far as we are working purely with the support of ordinary Jamaicans. So ordinary Jamaicans like you're the ones supporting us, whether you're here in Jamaica or you are somewhere else across the world, helping to fight for your rights and your freedom and for your future. So once again, I encourage all of you, please give what you can and help us to do what we need to do to fix Jamaica and make it a place where you can be proud of and you can return and you can live, earn, and retire with dignity in your own country. So thanks again. Have a wonderful night until we talk again soon. Take care, be safe, and continue to stand with the UIC as we stand for you. Have a wonderful night until we speak again. Take care.